G'day everyone and welcome to episode 19 of the Battleforge Gaming podcast, brought to you by General Games Churnside Park. You will obviously notice that there is a lack of a mustache on today's stream, and it is because Mike has had to step away because he's a busy beaver now with his apprenticeship, so he's not able to commit the same amount of time. So we've got a new co-host, Mark, the
Hello,
Dice
everyone.
Daddy.
Hello, thank you, Judd, for having me. It's a massive honour.
That's all right. And you'll also notice I'd been spruiking up that we were going to have 4 people on tonight's stream. However, Ash and I got our wires crossed, and for whatever reason, he thought it was going to be tomorrow. So
The warp changed the messages.
yeah, so it's Alex for his third podcast. I was expecting some claps there. I don't know why. I had in the back of my mind there was going to be some claps. He's like, here's Alex for the third one. So yeah. And on the note of General Games sponsoring us and the next podcast being episode 20, we're doing a little bit of a giveaway. I'll see if I can balance the laptop on my knee. So what the giveaway is going to be an epic hero up to a 60 mil base. So if you win, you can pick which one it is. It could be Farsight, Gazgul. Is the Swarm Lord on a 60 mil? I think so.
Actually, it might be, yeah.
So yeah, you guys can pick, and basically what you'll have to do is just like and comment on. It'll be this podcast that people will like and comment on. So when it's on YouTube, like and comment on it, and that will be your entry into winning a cool model to help celebrate.
If you win, I'm happy for you to have my address and send me a Swarm Lord. I won't say no.
So I guess I'll be running the ship a little bit until you get used to doing some of the podcast stuff. So we'll do the fortnightly catch up, and this is where Mike would ask me, we'll ask you, what have you been up to in the past 2 weeks?
Lots of painting of my Hive Tyrant, actually. I'm very focused on my Tyranids, which is great. I've got that passion for them. I did finish Barb Gaunts maybe on the 2-week mark ago. Up to the final highlights on my Carapace, final highlights on the arms, and then the basing, and I believe I have my Hive Tyrant. And then,
so before you started doing your Tyranids,
yes,
you were struggling to sort of find an army that really grabbed you and,
Yes.
and sort of held your attention, but the Tyranids have seemed to have done that.
oh, absolutely. And I paint models that I like. I'm not reading too much into the meta. I do want to play. I'm not reading into doing the whole strongest army wins. I'm painting the models I like, and then I'll grow from it from there, and that's keeping my passion for it. I'm enjoying painting the models that I'm painting, and the more and more I'm getting painted, the more and more I want to paint, which is great.
Motivation wise,
Yes.
picking models that like draw your attention
Yes.
are going to 100% keep you motivated. It's once you start to try and paint stuff for a specific list that you're not interested in, then it sort of becomes a bit of a grind.
Yes.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just a harder hobby to do. So if you are wanting to paint stuff for a bit more of a competitive scene, you can still do it. It's probably not going to be as enjoyable, but I suppose it's that longer goal of having that list done
Yes.
that you know is going to be a bit more optimized, is going to do better at tournaments and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And Alex, how have you been, dude?
Yeah, not too bad.
I mean, it's been more than a fortnight in between us chatting, but
Yeah.
in your last fortnight, have you been doing any hobby?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit where I can because I've been flat out at work. But yeah, been doing one of Warhammer's smallest models that they do.
Zareva, is it?
No, Warhound.
Warhound.
Yeah.
Right.
Been working on getting some base coats on that. There's a lot of trim. I thought
Because
Chaos had a lot of trim.
You've had that model for years. I remember you talking about building it for like, I think 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What was the sort of catalyst for you to finally be like, right, I'm gonna commit to this big boy?
I really pigeonholed it because I went through a bad experience at the time when I was working on it, and it kind of, whenever I looked at it, I'm like, I can't do it because just the bad memories with it.
Yep.
But I was like, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to finish putting paint on this. At least get it done. You know, it's 1,100 points, almost a grand's worth of Forge World resin that needs to get some love.
Was it a bad experience within the model or just life. Around it? Okay. Yeah. That's
Are you wanting to take this to games, or is this sort of just like a bit of a passion project now?
It's more of a passion project. I could, you know what?
I'm just wondering if this is coming into a Battleforge Gaming Battle Report, how I'm going to deal with this thing.
I reckon do it at least once.
We could work its way into a small 1,500 point game.
And what is this going to include the Brass Scorpion as well, or?
No, that's 750 points. I can't bring them together. But no, I've been putting some paint on the Warhound and working on Vashtor, the Arcaphane.
Oh, very cool. Are you going for his scheme itself, like his actual sort of brass and?
I'll be tweaking it a bit to get it to fit into my Black Legion.
Yeah.
So probably going to go with the solid black armor with the gold trim that's very similar to my Black Legion.
That'll be cool. That'll still look super cool.
Yeah.
So we were going to bring Ash and Alex on at the same time because you both went to ARC, which was what, approximately 6 weeks ago, I think, when we we're at DreamHack. I feel like
roughly,
that sort of fits. And you did take your Black Legion to that, and you did a lot of painting leading up to that. To give people an idea of what you did, what sort of kept you motivated for that? Because you painted them to a very, very high standard. We've shown people your stuff on stream before. I didn't snap any pics on this one, but that whole army was painted to a very high standard. What sort of lead up time did you give yourself for that? Because I was painting my Blood Angels and I think I gave myself like a year lead time to try and get like 1350 painted.
It was definitely, I would say, March last year. I definitely started painting. I think I bought the 3 Forge Fiends end of March. And that's when I just started painting.
Yep.
So yeah, about a year, 13 months.
And that was knowing that you wanted to take those models to ARC as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
My
impressive.
list barely changed.
Well, that's the thing. Like you didn't write a list with sort of like winning in mind with optimization. I think you were doing Forge Fiends before the edition got dropped, and then the new edition got dropped, 10th edition, and Forge Fiends came out and they were very strong till they got their sort of points increase. They're still very good at what they do. They're just a bit more points heavy. So I guess with that in mind, what advice would you have for people that are looking to go to a tournament like ARC and they're wanting to paint to a high standard? Like how did you stay motivated? What was the one thing that sort of kept you going?
Knowing that what I could paint would be to a high standard. So I was going not for the gaming side, I was going for the painting side of it. But my advice would be don't think too hard about what you're doing when painting it. Because I ended up running out of time. I didn't do a display board or anything like that.
Yep.
Which
we'll get to.
Yeah, let me down a bit.
We'll get to that part.
But yeah, just keep your head down and just keep painting what you know you're doing.
Sort of stick to it and have your end goal in mind. Is that some advice you'd give to people?
Well, like obviously with the batch painting, I'm good at just starting one thing and just finishing that one project.
Yeah.
So yeah, just finish the project.
Do you enjoy obviously painting your army as well, or it was that you had that goal in mind which helped you keep that?
Because I had the deadline of I'm painting for ARC, I work very good with the deadline. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I know I've got to have this done by this. I'll put the amount of time I need to put into it.
Because you had a goal that you knew was achievable, you were able to achieve it. Yeah, very nice.
How did you finish it like with time to spare, or were you sort of painting up the last models?
I was still doing touch-ups the night before.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've given yourself a year, and you're still painting the night before.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's yeah, locked in doing that.
I mean, there's people that paint armies in a weekend to go to this type of stuff, but not to like
No.
you just can't do the standard that Alex did in a weekend. So, man, probably should have taken this photo. You'll have to take some pics because you're starting to put some stuff up on your Instagram, which is really, really good. So I'd love to start seeing more and more of that Black Legion up on your Instagram so people can check out.
It's very well painted. They're very impressive to look at.
Extremely elite,
Yes.
but still fantastic looking army. And you're going to expand on that for the battle reports?
Yep.
That's not a nice, not a warhound.
I could go a bit smaller. A couple of Helldrakes here and there. But definitely going still down a very elite track with it, especially with the release of the new codex.
Yeah. You like the demon engines. I feel like that's sort of where you're leaning towards.
And when I picked up Chaos, that's always what I lent towards, especially with with the release of the Lord Discordant at the time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I guess having known how long Alex gave himself lead time, how long do you think would the way you paint your models and the way you do your own hobby? Because everyone's different, right? Everyone has different, like Alex can grind. I can grind pretty well with models. Like I can easily paint stuff that I don't like. I'll grumble along the way.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Like, you'll hear me bitching and moaning about grav pads and stuff, but I can still get it done.
Yes.
Let's just say you're going to ARC 2025.
Yes. Yep.
How do you think you would plan to go to get your stuff painted for that?
I would definitely have to know my list because I'm very easily sidetracked, not from the painting side of it anymore. Back when, if this was me 6 months ago, I'd probably need 2-3 years. But now that I've gained that motivation, a year for me, I still think would be pushing it because I'm painting a horde army and I do like the smaller models as well. So I need lots of models to make up the points. So for me to go to 2025, I think for my larger models, I'd be all right, but I'd probably have to drop my quality a little bit just to get my smaller models on the board.
Yep.
Which I wouldn't like to do, but if it meant that I could participate in it, that potentially might be what it is. Or over the holidays, my 2 weeks holidays, if I actually got the 2 weeks off over Christmas, I don't think I'd move away from my desk except to eat and to clean myself. That's about it. And just 24/7 painting these bad boys to make sure they're done.
Sounds like a pretty good plan.
Does.
Is that something you'd want to do? Go to ARC 2025?
Absolutely. I do like, for me, it's a little bit intimidating, if I'm honest, because obviously I don't play meta and stuff like that. It can be a bit disheartening if I was to go and just absolutely have the floor wipe with me. And I'd probably have to put a little bit more time into learning a bit more objective-based gaming. Because if people had watched how I play at DreamHack, I like destroying models. That's my thing. Back from previous editions, that's what the game used to be about. I'm still getting used to the whole objectives behind the game.
I think your objective-based game, the way you play is probably naturally going to change once we start doing battle reports anyway.
Yep.
Because it'll just sort of
steer me in the right direction.
Well, it's going to force you to learn how to play that way. Is ARC 2025 something you would look at doing as well?
I'll definitely be building my Black Legion list for 2025.
Okay, so you're going to go back?
Yeah.
On that note, I think we should probably touch on ARC, and it's unfortunate that we don't have Ash here because it would have been fantastic to get another person's point of view on the experience that was ARC, because it is one of Victoria's biggest tournaments. It is one of Victoria's biggest tournaments, and Ash and yourself was your first ever Warhammer 40k solo tournament. I know Ash has gone to some Age of Sigmar stuff by himself, but it was his first ever 40k, and it was I think it was Lockie's sort of first official 40k one. And we've heard from Lockie about how he felt Arc was. And I'd love to be able to put some input in, but unless I'm sort of experiencing it firsthand, I can only sort of go off what I've heard. And I may have given people a false idea of what Arc was going to be because of what I had heard previously, and I had seen an Arc, like I'd been to an Arc before, and it did seem to be very themey lists. There was a focus on painting, and you also had a secondary point score, like a comp score, which back in the other editions, I guess, was a bit easier to I guess score, because things in the previous editions, I guess there wasn't as the overlapping of auras and stuff. So if a unit was good, it was good. Now units can be okay, but then when you put them next to another, like a hero, or you attach a specific hero to a unit, all of a sudden they go from being okay to being absolutely amazing. So it'd be harder for them to a comp score. And I think the judges just go around and look at your list now. Did you get your score back from them?
Yeah, so ended up getting the score back, I think maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just went around asking, have you got a specific theme to your list? Do you have any freehand on your models when talking about getting your paint score?
Right.
But most of it was peer vote. So you were voted by the other player you were versing.
Okay.
Interesting.
Especially when it came to like sports or how the list was overall.
Right. Okay. So for me, and look, running a tournament would be super, super hard. Like it'd be like we did DreamHack, and that in itself was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was.
I can't imagine what 2 days of 200 people playing a tournament would be like. For me, peer voting's a weird one, because from where I sit, you could easily play someone, lose a game. They could lose to you, and you get a sports score and a comp score attached to your list that's not accurate just because someone has lost to you.
Because of the bitterness of
because of a bitterness from a win. And I don't know how else you would score it to make it fair. But yeah, I thought a comp score would come from a judge, not from your opponent.
There was obviously whatever you scored in each game that you played, but yeah, most of it was all peer, whoever you were versing.
Yeah, imagine being the nicest dude ever, which, like, I've played you before and I love playing you. I always say my favorite opponents are ones that I can sort of play at home, and if I need to go to the toilet or I want to go grab a drink, I'm happy to walk away from the board and let people have like a full movement phase and stuff. That's the type of person I want to play.
Yep.
Whereas if, I'm playing someone and I feel like I can't leave the table, that's not someone I really want to play that much. And yeah, for me, it strikes me weird. It's strange that you could be a really, really nice dude and you could roll hot. Like your list wasn't, how many wins did you get?
0.
Okay, so your list was weak.
Your rolls were.
Yeah, so your list was obviously not optimized, and you could have rolled extremely well with those Forge Fiends. Like I've been on the receiving end of those Forge Fiends. You could have rolled extremely well and just smashed the dude, and being the nicest guy ever, you still could have got like a bad sports score just for rolling well. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how else you would score it though.
Yeah.
Was there lots of like meta chasing while you were there?
I wouldn't say there is, but there were a lot of people that took specific lists in mind of focusing on what they needed to get done.
So this is where Ash would have been good, because I asked Ash the same question, and Ash was like, yes, there was meta. So he was like, he walked past the table, he'd be like, oh, there's the Necron LVO winner, but just on a smaller scale for 1350 points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said he walked past quite a few tables and picked out stuff, and he was like, oh, that's a meta list. It's just confined to 1350. So you are limited to what you can do, but like you could still do it on a smaller scale for
And Ash,
sure.
off memory from when we played Necromunda, Ash is very well in like with his game focus and knowing
Ash is very good with
the
game
broad,
knowledge.
yeah, the game knowledge. That's the correct term
Yep.
I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ash has said he wants to return. This is such a shame because I would have loved to have Ash on to chat about this. Ash said he's going to return to ARC 2025, but the list he's taking is not going to be the list that he took to this year's one because, like you, he took a list that was a little bit softer. And again, I think that's because of me. ARC used to have an ARC Forge thing where it was like you got bonuses for taking a very simple list. If you took a hero, if you took 3 troop choices, an elite, a fast, and a heavy, you got like bonus points. You were ARC Forged. Whereas it's very hard for that to happen in this edition because you have characters, you have battle line, and then you've got
Everything
other.
else. Yeah. That's true.
So yeah, I think you could still
You could still have it. So like,
I feel like you could if you ran a tournament. Let's just hypothetically say we're going to do a Battle Forged Gaming Cup or something along those lines. I think you could easily set some rules in place and be like, you need to have 1 hero, you need to have 3 battle line, and then it's not that hard to pick what the old because do you remember what the fast attacks were for the Tyranids, or do you remember what the fast attack slots used to be for the Chaos Marines? I sort of do.
oh yeah, I've got a basic knowledge, of what the fast attacks were for the Tyranids.
Yeah, or like Havocs for the Chaos Space Marines. You could take like 1 unit of Havocs, 1 unit of the shitty bikes. No, don't take those bikes. They're such bad models. And then some Chosen, and that would be like a good starting point. And then you can just expand on that however you wanted. Yeah. So I guess with playing your first ever ARC, experience wise, was it a positive one, do you think?
I wouldn't say overall positive because I did go in with the mindset of, oh, this is going to be all pretty friendly games. And with the hindsight of, okay, all this is peer voted, I did actively go, okay, well, I'm going to have this model charge this combat unit because it's going to be a bit more fun for the other guy.
Right. So even the way you played, you changed up.
Yeah, just
to try and, I guess,
Make the games interesting.
yeah,
be a bit, make some tactical decisions that you otherwise wouldn't make.
yeah, maybe some tactical indecisions.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2025, you're not going to do that.
It's going to be a lot harder.
Advice wise, let's just say you were going to give someone advice to go to ARC 2025. Unlike the advice I gave people, so let's just say Mark is going to go. What would you tell Mark in order for him to have a fun time at ARC and try and score relatively well? What sort of advice would you have for Mark? Because from what I'm hearing, don't worry about your list, whether it's strong or not. Take some strong stuff if you want to take some strong stuff, and don't be deterred by winning, because I used to think that the winning came secondary, but by the sounds of it, where Lockie scored, because I think Lockie scored pretty high.
Yeah.
And he won majority of his games. I think, how many games did you play? 6?
Yeah, 6.
I think Lockie won 5. And from my knowledge, I used to get told you get scored on absolutely everything else, and then winning is like completely and utterly secondary. Like you don't get points for that, so don't even worry about winning. But looking at the scorecards, I'd probably worry about winning a little bit too.
Yeah, I'd definitely be saying go objective focused.
Yep.
And go in the mindset of I've got to keep these models off this objective.
Okay. Yep. So it's taking away that whole, well, like you were saying, you went with a bit more of a friendly game mindset, but it is more of a you need to sort of win mindset because that's what everyone's going with kind of thing. Which it's a tournament, I do get, but you also want it to be enjoyable. It keeps people going back if it's enjoyable for everyone.
Well, that was the reason I wanted to go because for me, winning's not something that's interests me anymore. Like I played a heap of sport when I was younger. I got my competitive fix from that type of stuff. I I prefer the laid back, have a casual drink, roll some dice with your friends type of atmosphere. And it sounds like that's what it used to be. It doesn't sound like that's what it is now, which is a bit of a shame. But I suppose the experience is what you make it. If you get caught up in really worrying about the score, then yeah, it's a weird one. It's a bit of a weird one.
Do you see it as a learning curve, but now that you've done it, now you've seen what it's like, and so it changes your expectations of what to do for next year?
Yeah, well, I didn't know what I was walking into, so I was going in with an open mind. But now I'm like, okay, now I've got a course of direction to go next year, which is why it wasn't a negative. Like I lost every game, but I'm not taking that with me.
Were there any close games?
No.
None were close.
I don't have a very objective, control-heavy list. So points-wise, yeah, I got absolutely stomped. But there were a couple of games where we were down to like maybe 3-4 models each.
Yeah, right.
So did you play a little bit more how I said I like my play style? Were you trying to take models off the board, or is it just because of the number of units you have it made it hard to get to the objectives?
So objective control wasn't too bad in terms of where I was getting to objectives, but there were, like I was saying before, there were points where I'd be like, oh, it looks like he's getting a bit sour about this, so I'm going to charge my shooting unit into a combat unit.
Yep.
Oh, so you were trying to take note of your opponent's sort of emotions.
Yeah. Because I was aware it was all peer voted, I was like, well, I don't want to get a shitty score just because I've stomped his warlord.
Right.
This might seem like a silly question as well, but was it fixed or tactical for the missions?
You actually got to pick.
Okay, yep.
So there was the overall game mission that they gave each round.
Yep.
But you picked fixed or tactical.
Oh, okay, wow. Interesting.
Loggie's actually written in and he said he's going to take lists to table people on turn 2 next year.
Nice. I hope I don't come against you, Lockie, for my first time. Hey, man, good luck. And then I'm walking away 5 minutes later.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm struggling to come up with some questions.
Was there pretty much every army there? Was there at least one person there with one type of each army so people could see each type of army, or did you notice a lack of certain armies?
No, overall, I did see there was a lot of every army.
That's
like
good,
there was a couple of Eldar players, a couple of Orc players. There was a lot of Space Marine players, but that's always going to be the case. It's Warhammer. They're the poster boys. Like I even versed a Chaos player in the end.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Next year, are you going to do a display board? Because there is like, here's the thing. Like we're not picking on, but we're bringing to light the way the tournament is scored a little bit.
Yep.
And creating a display board is one of the key elements to score maximum points. So is that something you'll work on next year? I was going to do one. I absolutely hate doing terrain and stuff, but I was going to make a display board for my army just so I could try and score as highly as I possibly could. Do you think you'll do a display board?
100%. Because that is exactly what let me down for my paint score overall. Because
I know Ray was the same because Ray didn't have a display board either, and he scored. I think he was third.
Yeah, he was top 3.
He was top 3, but his display board was just a couple of bits of paper with like Eldari runes on them. So like his display board was sort of non-existent as well.
To get third without a display board's pretty impressive, but
Well, that gives you an idea of what his army was, how well it was painted.
what army did he go with again?
Ulthway.
Ah, that's right. You did say that. He had the Eldari markings. Yeah.
Yep.
It was a bloody good looking army. So he definitely deserved it.
And when you go to Arc as well, you have to have there's requirements with painting, isn't there? You can't go with grey models, obviously, or
No, there's no grey models at all. They do have a list of what you need to achieve, and we probably should have got it up to read over what it is. But you do get you get points for conversions, you get points for freehand, you get points for different techniques. So you would get points for airbrushing, dry brushing, edge highlighting. So like overall, I don't know if my Blood Angels would score insanely high
because there's not the variation of
because there's
different
not
styles.
a huge variation, and my conversion work is very subtle to the point where like sometimes it looks like that's how the model is meant to appear. So like I don't know if a judge would look at it and be like, oh yeah, I can see that those Blade Guard are all converted because, you know, I've used Blood Angel Space Marine bits that tie in pretty well. So yeah, display board's another one. You get voted on your theme. So like if you're, and I don't understand how you can do theme on every army either. Like I suppose with Tyranids you could do it like if it's just all big bugs. If it's like a massive swarm, you might be able to do it. But for the most part, see, I don't know if my Blood Angels would score on theme either because I've essentially painted stuff that I like.
Yep.
So like regular intercessors, I really like impulses. I don't know why. I just like the transports. And it's a mixture of like the first and second company. There's no like fixed theme to it. It's not like it's a full Dreadnought army. It's not like it's all jump pack guys. So like I don't know if I would score highly on theme either.
And because there's no real restrictions in what you need to take now, is there? You have to have a leader, don't you?
You have to have a warlord, and
yeah.
then there's the rule of 3 or 6 if it comes to battle line. So you
Yeah.
can have up to 6 of your battle line and 3 of everything else.
Yep. And sorry, you go.
Well, one of the things that they did in their ARC newsletter, one of the ways that they did score theme was, writing a bit of backstory for your army.
Right.
So like naming your own captain, naming your own transport, and saying, "Oh, this transport survived the first battle of Baal," kind of thing.
I've got
Okay.
some named characters. My Dreadnought's got a name and a sergeant. So
Well, now that I've changed up my Tyranids a little bit, I made up a little bit of a story in my head about certain colours on them and why they are that. So that might be able to help. So
would you recommend for a first time person to write a backstory to get points for that?
I suppose it really depends what you're going there for.
Yeah.
Like if you're going there with the interest on getting high score for your army overall, definitely. And, it's probably going to make you paint better having all this backstory you've written for, this Terminator captain, he's survived X, Y, and Z. It's going to make you want to paint harder.
Yeah.
So definitely
true.
do it.
Awesome. And do they, obviously ARC was a solo, is there tournaments that get done that are doubles and stuff like that?
There are doubles tournaments out there.
Yep.
There's one at House of War that's coming up. I think it's 1,000 points per person.
Interesting.
So they probably don't have the same scoring as ARC. I know that some tournaments still don't even have like paint scores, which for me is it's probably not a tournament I'll go to if there's no like paint
Yeah.
like standard. There would have to be at least a minimum standard for me to want to go to a tournament. But yeah, the 2v2s in terms of tournaments I think are really, really good to introduce newer people or people that have never been to a tournament to that type of scene. That's how I started doing some tournaments. I'm yet to go to a 40K tournament. which is a solo one.
Yep.
But I have been to 2v2 Age of Sigmars, and,
Okay.
I actually went with Ash. So that was how I got into it. And for me, nerves-wise, it was so much easier being with someone else on my same team. You could just bounce off and you can sort of double-check rules. And then it also made it easier for me if I felt someone wasn't playing their rules correctly, you could be like, oh, I'm not sure that's how that's meant to be done. And then your teammate could sort of back you up.
With going on that, with you saying the rules and people being real pedantic, or you being able to chat nicely about it, was there people there that were like would ask to double check your rules because they thought it didn't sound right, or was everyone pretty up to sort of scratch with most rules, so there wasn't really too much questioning on what you were doing as well?
Everyone was pretty chill
Okay,
about it. Like there was even a couple of rules I've gotten wrong, and they're like, "Oh, is that actually the case?"
Yeah.
And that was good because obviously, you know, I'm more of a painter than a gamer, so I'm not up to scratch with all my rules 100%, and I'll admit that.
You'll get there, mate. When we do the battle reports, you'll be all over them.
Now, you should have seen me playing my first few Tyranid games. I think I had my head in the book more than I did on the table.
No.
So
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, though. Like, you want to sort of get your rules right from the get-go.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think there's any negative to wanting to always look your stuff up. I still do it now. I do it in the Gambas.
Yeah.
I'll like check rules and be like, I'm pretty sure this dude has 5 attacks, and like 90% of the time, I'm right. But it's always good to make sure you're getting it.
just to double check.
Yeah, because it's pretty easy to read something wrong.
Oh, when you're reading as well a bit, and because I know you've got the interest in looking into things and seeing what they do, and everyone else does, you can. There's so many armies and so many models that if you've been reading something else, like I've done it a couple of times where I've read into, like my brother gave me the Codex of the Orcs on my Warhammer app, and every now and then I'll go into the Orcs and read something, and then
That's dangerous.
it is dangerous. But I love lore as well. I get a kick out of lore. I think lore's great. And I think that can help with painting armies too. I like listening to stuff about Tyranids, and then I like to find out armies that have fought Tyranids, and then obviously I go down that path. But going back to the whole rules thing, you read a rule on something and you can sometimes, like with Feel No Pains and stuff like that, I sometimes have crossed the information and then gone back and gone, actually, wait a minute, no, that's not how this model works. It works this way, and double check. So and so any other armies that you're looking into, Alex, or are you sticking to the main one?
Yeah, do you think you will take Black Legion to the next arc, or do you think it's going to be a different army entirely?
No, I think I'm going to stick to the Black Legion.
You're just going to keep expanding on it? It's pretty good. Like, I mean, I'm trying to encourage people for our battle reports to do that, because it is very, very hard to sort of paint 2 factions to a very high standard. So I'm trying to encourage people to do exactly what you're doing, is focus on one and then just keep adding like unit to just grow on that army. It's much easier than the 2. So Black Legion for
2025. Yeah, 100%. Unless I bring a Warhound to.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But a stronger list though.
Yeah.
What changes? All right. If Alex from the past could tell this Alex what to do for Arc, what would you do different?
Sorry, quick thing. What was your list? So
Yeah, we can go through your list.
What was your list?
So I had the 3 Forge Fiends with the 3 Ectoplasma each. I had a Hellbrute with Las Cannon and Hellbrute Fist. I had Lord Disco and a Warpsmith, as well as a 5-man Terminator unit with a Nurgle Sorcerer.
Which, as you can see, in the big scheme of things, that's not a lot of models to have on the table.
Lockie's trying to bring them in.
There, I don't know if that's on the camera, but
It is
at
on the camera.
there
It
you
is
go.
on the
You
camera.
can see
That's the entirety
it.
of the 1350 right there in front of people.
Yeah. I had 0 objective control.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if, like what you were saying, is if future Alex could tell me past Alex what to do, I definitely like even just switching out the Hellbrute for
In an ideal world where you had unlimited time and resources and you could paint the list you wanted, how much would it differ from this list?
I reckon quite substantially. Like I wouldn't have as good as it is having the 3 Forge Fiend for gun platforms. Even just having a Rhino with, you know, some Legionnaires in it just to sit on an objective or a cultist to sit on. Because, yeah, like that's just where I got cut up. Just lack of objectives. I think I had one game where I only scored 7 points in total.
Wow.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And is it because you had to, because how far the range on an ectoplasma cannon's, is it 24 or the 36?
36.
Right. So the range isn't the longest of ranges. So you sort of had to maneuver your army and it sort of pushed you off objectives as well
Yeah.
to try, because like if your army's not removing models from your opponent, then your army sort of isn't doing what it's made to do, because yours is very sort of punchy, offensive type of list. So you weren't able to sort of sit on your back objective at all.
No, so with the Terminators, they were trying to come down on the backside of the field in your
opponent's
opponent's objectives.
Yep.
Just to try and get, because most missions are designed for that's going to be where a lot of points are made on the opponent's objective.
Yep.
But then obviously moving my whole army up to get the other objectives left my home objective open. So they found it nice and easy to come through, get that. But yeah, like I'll definitely be looking at switching it up to have a bit more faster and a bit more movement with my units.
A little more balance.
Yeah.
And will you be a little bit less compassionate as well then towards people?
I have no more compassion left.
That's you shouldn't, because you're a chaos player.
Do you think this list is something that you would use for 2,000 points? You would just sort of then add those elements, so like the Chaos Legionaries in the Rhinos and stuff like that. Do you think you could build off this?
Yeah, this is actually a really good center point that I can expand on, especially looking, 2,000 point, 3,000 point list. Like this is a solid
3,000 points.
That's a big game.
Settle down.
I've got 1,100 points in a Warhound sitting there that I've got to fit in somehow.
I'm not playing that thing. Refuse. So with ARC 2025, have you got a list in mind?
Yes, I do. A bit of a list. Obviously, it might slightly change because with the FAQs and stuff that come out, or the fixes that come out, things might change. There's things that I probably need to – there's models that I like. My thing is, obviously, I have a passion towards certain models. And once I learn, obviously, a little bit more about more armies, I think that's where I need to maybe broaden my knowledge just a little bit on other armies and what they can do.
Stuff?
Yes.
Right.
Because then that's going to help as well. At the moment, I know the
Space Marines?
basic behind Space Marines, the basic behind Tyranids, and I know on paper what Orcs can do, but I haven't actually looked into it enough.
Orcs are very strong.
And I've heard that they're very strong.
Yeah.
I'm in some Tyranid groups and I have seen quite a lot of people complaining about Orcs. But yeah, it will come down to that. I think I will, because it's my first time, like you said, I'll probably go in the same way as you. I've got a few models now painted, so that will be my basis. So I've got a painted army to go off. If I need to change it a little bit and I have the time there that I can paint the models, but I also don't really want to drop my quality of painting either.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to go back and redo, not redo, but just add extras to my models, because I'm starting to get to a point where I'm loving my models and I want all my models to be that way. So once I've painted a model, that's in my army or a part of my collection and it's good to go.
Yep. I mean, it's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Like if I go to ARC 2025, my list will be drastically different to what I would have taken to 2024. And I played a few games against Alex, and I played this list here, and my Blood Angels lacked some serious teeth. There were a few units in it that could do stuff, like very situational. Assault Marines are good when they get some buffs and you're near an objective and stuff. Terminators are quite strong for Blood Angels if they get the charge off. But all in all, I had a bunch of like small arms fire that was like strength 4, wouldn't really do much against anything. I had a lot of that. I had a repulsor. I think I was going to put the repulsor in, and that can go well if you hit with the las cannons and stuff, but like it's so random. So I think I probably would have been in the same boat as you. I think I would have scored very similar paint wise to Lockie and yourself. And I think in terms of like winning games, I would have been along the same lines as you.
Was the Brutalist in your list?
Brutalis was in my list. No, Brutalis was in my list, but one Brutalis isn't
gonna do
a lot because people go, all right, there's one Brutalis. I know that dude can like punch the shit out of my army.
He can bop.
I'm gonna get rid of him.
Yeah.
So then, there goes 165 points. I think they are.
So
maybe 175.
With saying that as a sort of a new player as well, what you'd want to do then is obviously have more than one tempting model for your enemy.
Yeah, you want to take a bit of redundancy.
Yep.
You want to take a bit of redundancy. And that is hard in 1350. It's very hard to sort of take 2 Brutalis just for the sake of 1 to get in combat. But it's sort of the route I would want to go down anyway. For the 2,000 point battle reports that we are doing for the Battleforge gaming stuff, I do want to take 2 Brutalis anyway. So it is something that I will eventually work on.
Yep.
I got heaps of Blood Angel stuff that I want to paint. I want to have a large selection of models that I can chop and change, and I can change the detachments. I don't always have to take the Sons of Sanguinius, even though I very much enjoy it. We don't know what the new Blood Angel Codex is going to have in terms of detachments. They might have some that are based around jump packs, which I'm assuming they would for Blood Angels. And I do have a lot of jump pack guys that I want to do. It's just a matter of time versus the effort involved versus, yeah.
Do you reckon they'll have one based around Death Company, or you reckon they're going to get rid of it?
No, I don't think they'll get rid of Death Company. Death Company will still be around. It's just a matter of what they decide they're going to do with the Death Company. They'll phase out all those firstborn guys.
Yep.
Because Death Company are very strong right now. You can put a power fist on every single guy, and you can give them all a special weapon. So you can have 10 jump pack Death Company, all with power fists, all with Inferno pistols. Yeah, it's pretty nutty. They'll I think my theory behind it, and I don't know what they're going to do, it's just my theory, is they will remove the firstborn Death Company altogether. They'll get rid of them, and they'll say, here's the jump pack intercessors unit. So the ones that are out now, just regular jump pack intercessors. You can have 1 power fist per 5. And you can have 2 plasma. They'll just make it the same as the intercessors, but they'll just give them.
But they'll have the death.
They'll just have like Death Company keyword and feel no pain, or something like that. They may make it. I doubt they'd make a full detachment based around the Death Company though.
Is that a high point thing, but having that many power fist and the Infernal pistol?
No, because you don't pay for equipment anymore.
Ah, true. That's right. Yeah.
A guy with a bolt pistol and a chainsaw is the same amount of points as a power fist and an Inferno pistol.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, yeah, they might. I just, for me, if you know the rules of Death Company, they have no OC unless they have a chaplain. Think it's either in the unit or within range. It's one of the two. So I just don't know how. I don't know how a detachment would work around the Death Company. I'm not really sure. I feel like they'll have a jump pack one or a golden host one where it's like the first company and sanguinary guard.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows what the future holds for the Blood Angels? They're pretty strong right now, and when a Codex comes out, you can't imagine them.
Red Rampage terrifies
worse.
me. Red Rampage has done some damage to my mental
The
state.
strat,
Yes.
Red Rampage is a strat's very good, especially with them having the increased strength to strength 6, and it's not like it's a new thing. The strength 6 has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
out for a while, or the +2 strength rather. It is a very, very good strat. So I will revisit my Blood Angels to go to Arc next year, and like yourself, Alex, like what Ash is going to be doing. G'day, Ash.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for turning up, mate. Like Ash is doing, and like Lockie is doing, I'll change my list. It'll be a little more competitive, and that's simply so I don't just get stomped. Like, I don't want to turn up and just have my opponent just wipe the floor with me, because there'll be some people that won't find joy in that. There will be some people that absolutely love that. I'm sure there'd be people that would be like, oh yeah, that super soft Blood Angel list, that was fun to verse, because I
I need to learn how to use my synapse a bit better. That's
Absolutely.
the thing I'm lacking.
dominated it.
And it's the biggest thing for my army.
Come join the competitive sewer pit. No. I'll lean somewhere towards more
Fun comp.
optimization. Yeah. I'm not going full comp. That's not me. So yeah, I'll look at doing some stuff. And the Blood Angel Codex will probably dictate where I go with that type of stuff, because I do personally like to lean towards a theme.
Yep.
So detachments generally make for a themed list too.
Yep.
So, or it could be Tau. It could be Tau, because who knows? I might get onto the second army, and Tau could be the one I take to.
You're playing a dangerous game saying that over stream. You know you're going to have people pushing you now.
For Tau.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Interesting.
I've got some knights to knock on the head first. Another 3 weeks of Imperial Knights before I can get back to the Blood Angels. So I've committed to Tau. Yeah,
I told you.
I've been saying it on stream anyway.
Yeah.
It's not full commit.
It's one of your first loves too. Like,
Yeah, it
obviously,
is. It's what got me into the hobby. It's what
Yeah.
got me into the hobby. Farsight himself was the catalyst. So I think we've sort of got towards the end of this podcast.
And do you normally ask people on podcasts for like within the next 5 minutes if they have any questions for Alex?
No, we don't generally
Don't do
do
that?
a
Okay.
Q&A. We sometimes do a setup of a Q&A.
Yeah.
Prior to. So on that note, what does the future hold for you, Alex? Because we do like to chat to people about what their near sort of hobby goals are. Or if you can do your far-flung hobby goals.
Get 2 Warhounds. No, so I'll be definitely building, because now I've got the Chaos Codex.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be leaning into.
Have you got the actual codex?
Yes.
Have you managed to flick through it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
when
it-
did it actually come out?
2 weeks ago.
So it
Is
has been out for a
there
bit.
some stuff that's caught your eye specifically?
Well, because I've always gone down that Warp Forge kind of path with my Chaos list as it is, there is a detachment leaning hard into
Nice. Very nice.
the Soul Forged, which is why I'm building Vastor to
Do you know what their rules are, the bonuses and stuff off by heart?
not off by heart
Okay.
yet. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to have a game since. So.
I'm interested and keen to see what you come up with it when it's on the table.
How about yourself? Near future hobby goals or distant hobby goals?
I want to get at least 2,000 points of Tyranids painted up and see where I'm at with, obviously, with the BFG battle reports and everything else. See where we're at with that and go from there. Because I do have a lot of, because I've picked a Horde army to paint, I've got quite a lot of the Horde models to paint, and then probably hone in a bit, as I was saying, on the working around Synapse a little bit better because I know in the list that I've got to start off with, my Synapse plays aren't the greatest, which can help with certain detachments. So
Yeah, there's 2 detachments. There's the psychic one, I think,
Yes.
Synaptic Nexus. Gets benefits from Synapse, and then the Invasion Fleet.
because and which I at the moment
I still like Invasion, Fleet.
Fleet's really flexible, but even just small things, having models within the Synapse range, and instead of being able to have one unit get the bonus, you can have 2 if
Yeah.
they're within Synapse range, can make a big difference. And if I can somehow mix that with just say my Hive Tyrant, the Hive Tyrant has per command phase, he can pick one model within 6 inches, I believe it is, get to use the same strat that I use on another unit. So if I can play that within Synapse range really well, so just say for instance the one where I can pick another one of the enhancements to give to 2 units if they're within Synapse range, being able to give that to a 3rd unit for free with my Hive Tyrant buff, that could change it up as well. That can make, if I've got 30 Termagants instead of 20 Termagants with precision shots against machines, and I've got Devourers or whatever, that's a lot of chances of being able to do wounds. Having that many shots, even though they're not going to do a whole lot of damage, there's a chance just due to the amount of dice.
Yeah.
Then that's how I am probably going to steer towards is my weaker units, I want them to have a lot of shots, and then my stronger units just hitting hard.
Cool. So you've got lists in mind, you've got detachments in mind.
Yes, yep.
You just got a lot of painting to do.
I do. I have a lot of painting. But, you chip away at it, jump on the stream with Judd, you get your painting. Everyone, that's a minimum of 2 to 3 hours, if you jump on with Judd and paint with the crew. We have a bit of Judd has a bit of fun.
I try to.
Have some gambers, have a bit of a laugh.
The unfortunate gambers. That first Helverin one was horrid.
You just need to practice your rolls, I think, as well. You need to get out of Judd rolls.
I can't help it.
I don't think you can practice rolling ones.
It's so bad. It's actually so bad. And I guess people know what I'm up to. I've got some Imperial Knights to continue. So we've got an Imperial Knight army for the battle reports for Mike to play, which would be pretty damn cool. He'll probably decimate all of us. The guy has rarely rolled dice, and he's probably going to roll hot.
What's that list going to consist of again? And how many wounds roughly does that list? Will that list
So
have?
the list is 2,000 points on the dot. There's no enhancements because Imperial Knights went up a little bit.
Yep.
It has a Crusader in it, which is the white knight down in the front there. The fully ranged knight. It has a Castellan, which is the big boy. Then I forget what that one's called with the chainsword and the Avenger Gatling cannon.
The Crusader?
No. Crusader's the double Gatling. I can't remember. Anyway, there's 2 armages. It was 4 armages. There's 2 Warglaves and then there's 2 Helverins. So that's 2,000 points on the dot. In terms of wounds, each Questoris has like 22. The big knight itself, I don't know how many he's got. Could be 30.
So you're telling me between 7 models, is it? In that
There's 7
list,
models. There's 7 models in the
over
list.
100 wounds with them.
There's probably it's probably 100 wounds. Yeah. But if you've seen the Gambers, if you've seen any of the Gambers, the Questoris Knights have a 3+ save. So on paper, when you've got toughness 12, you're like, oh man, toughness 12 with 22 wounds. That's pretty hard to get through. When you look at it and they've got a 3+ save, and
using AP,
all of a sudden you've got like AP1 on a bunch of stuff. You can just chip away at those guys. The hard part with Imperial Knights is and we had this in one of our practice games for Arc, because I was like, oh, do you want to verse a 1350? An Errant. Thank you very much, Ultramarine. So I played Alex, and I don't think you destroyed a knight at all. You took a heap of wounds off the Crusader. You took half the wounds off the Errant, and you'd strip some wounds off the Warglaves. So at the end of the game, it looked like Alex had done absolutely nothing, but in actual fact, he had taken an absolute heap of wounds off some very, very tough models. and that sort of, I think, ends up being what you sort of get from an Imperial Knight game. I think you end up, unless you really, really focus fire stuff, the Imperial Knight player ends up looking like they've got heaps of stuff left on the board when they don't in terms of the wounds. There's very few wounds left on the board. There's models there, or they lose big chunks of their army.
Yep.
Because you need to think, if you lose 400 and something points from your 1350 army, all of a sudden you've lost a quarter of your army with just one model. It's just like gone.
And with objectives, that can make it real hard to
Yeah,
keep up
yeah.
with
And
points,
Knights aren't that bad at holding objectives because they do, I think they're OC 10, but once you start to bracket them, their OC goes down.
Okay, yep.
So when they get to 7 wounds, I think their OC gets halved or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're probably one of the most different playing armies out there, I think. There's not many armies that play similar to an Imperial Knight army.
I look forward to the battle reports because I believe that we've got quite a vast range of armies for people to see as well. So it's not like everyone runs either Space Marines or anything like that. Like Alex has his Chaos, Judd's got the Blood Angels, I got Tyranids. What's Ash got at the moment?
Astra Militarum.
Astra Militarum, Locky Dark Angels, right there. That's 5 different armies. Obviously, Dark Angels and Blood Angels are Space Marines, but they run off different kind of strategies and stuff. So I think it's going to be very exciting. I look forward to it.
There's potential of some other players too. I've spoken to a guy about Necrons.
Very cool. Very cool.
He spoke to me about playing. He hasn't got his list yet, but he was like, hey, this is the level of my painting. I'm wanting to do some Necrons. And I was like, that's cool. Take your time. Like, there's no rush. You get them done. Like, we prefer them to look awesome for the battle reports. And Kale has also spoken about doing his Gene Stealer cults as well.
I'm very keen on seeing that. And
So-
then I've got a couple of people that if they get stuff painted, we could potentially have some orcs as well. So right there's a good variety. So then that gives people that. Obviously, Judd focuses around new people as well. It gives people a chance to see what different armies can do, and it can help people decide which armies they like.
Cool. That's
Excellent.
it. Thank you very much for joining us, Alex.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being co-host for the first time.
Mate, absolute honor. I love it. I
And
appreciate
Ash,
it.
thank you for turning up. absolutely fantastic. We'll have to get him on another time.
Yeah.
It won't be tomorrow like he's expecting. I'd better let him know that it's not tomorrow.
No.
So thank you very much, guys. I've done a mic. I've actually legitimately done a mic, and I forgot to tell people to like, share, and subscribe until the end of the podcast. But if you do like, share, and subscribe, remember it does get you in the entry to win an epic hero model for your faction. So that will be on the YouTube when this is uploaded. So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
And we do have a guest for episode 20.
Nice.
The record breaking episode 20. So
So see you there, guys.
thanks, guys. See yous.
See ya.